What if a city wasn't a messy web of streets and suburbs, but a single straight line? Mirrored walls, no cars, and the internet couldn't stop arguing about it. Welcome to Unboxd Origins. I'm Howie, your resident science geek and accidental trivia sponge.
And I'm Wyatt. I ask the big questions. Sometimes philosophical, often skeptical, always curious.
Today, we're digging into how did NEOM's The Line become a viral megacity design? All right, let's unpack this. The line didn't appear out of a vacuum. It's part of a bigger experiment called NEOM, a huge Saudi Arabian initiative born from Vision 2030, a state-driven effort to diversify an oil-centered economy into tech, tourism, and green energy. NEOM was announced in 2017 as a brand and a promise. The country would build futuristic zones to attract talent and capital. That promise is where the line starts. Not as a street or a pipe, but as a narrative device. Governments have long used landmark projects to signal change. NEOM just took the mega project idea and made it look like science fiction. The line itself was revealed in January 2021 as a clear, almost cinematic proposition, a linear city about 170 kilometers long, roughly 500 meters tall and 200 meters wide, designed so every resident would be within a 5-minute walk of essential services and reportedly to accommodate millions of people. No cars, no streets, enormous mirrored facades, and a promise of carbon-neutral operation. The announcement came with glossy renders, a dramatic video, and a set of sweeping claims, everything from AI-managed transit systems to climate-controlled public spaces. Those visuals did more than explain the idea. They packaged it into a single striking image that was easy to share, easy to discuss, and impossible to ignore. The concept also has intellectual antecedents. The linear city appears in urbanist thought going back over a century. Think Arturo Soya Imada's late 19th century plans and a cluster of utopian and modernist projects that imagine cities arranged along transit lines. The line repackaged those older ideas but pumped them full of today's tech buzzwords: smart infrastructure, renewable power, digital governance. Then you mix in state-level money and a sovereign wealth fund with deep resources, and you have the ingredients for a project that's both plausible on paper and grand enough to make a spectacle. Of course, a spectacle invites scrutiny. Engineers and planners quickly started asking practical questions. How do you ventilate and cool a narrow vertical settlement in a desert? What happens to biodiversity and archaeological sites along the route? How do you source the water and energy needed for construction and future residents without demolishing the environmental claims? These are not trivial caveats. Environmental groups flagged impacts on wildlife corridors and coastal ecosystems, while human rights observers pointed out that large-scale development rarely happens without social displacement. Meanwhile, the mega project's backers kept telling a compelling story. This is how a post-carbon, tech-enabled city could look.
Aha! Here's where the story takes the twist people miss. The line's true power wasn't just architectural novelty, it was publicity alchemy. The mirrored canyon, the 5-minute promise, the no cars headline. They are marketing missiles. The project is as much a branding exercise aimed at investors, skilled migrants, and geopolitical audiences as it is an urban plan. In other words, the object that went viral is half product design and half statecraft.
Exactly, and that's what turned the line into an internet sensation. The visuals were meme-friendly. Mirrored walls, endless horizons, and the uncanny valley of a city, presented as a singular geometric object. Social platforms love clear, shareable narratives, and the line delivered one. A picture that begged for headlines: radical, dystopian, utopian, genius, or folly. From architecture blogs to late-night hosts, people debated aesthetics, feasibility, and ethics in the same breath. The debate fed itself. The more polarized the takes, the more attention it generated. That attention then becomes a commodity that the project's backers can convert into legitimacy, partnerships, and capital flows. Funding and governance are key to understanding the momentum. The line sits under the umbrella of NEOM, which is backed by Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, a massive sovereign wealth vehicle. That institutional backing matters It changes the conversation from a crazy concept to a plausible national priority. With state money, you can afford blue ribbon feasibility studies, hire global engineering talent, and sign memoranda of understanding with firms that add technical credibility. But money and memoranda are not the same as boots-on-the-ground delivery. Translating a striking concept into a functioning city requires practical phase steps, relocating communities, doing environmental impact assessments, sourcing materials, building supply chains, and more, all of which tend to suck the glamour out of the initial reveal and replace it with slow, bureaucratic reality.
And the aha moment deepens here. Consider that a lot of the headlines were not about concrete poured or blocks laid, but about whether the idea signaled something bigger, a reorientation of national identity and economic strategy. The line offered a story investors and talent could buy into. It signals ambition and technological capacity. That is sometimes as valuable to a state as the urban space itself. So, the viral effect is not incidental, it's functional. It's the city as marketing platform.
Right, after the initial reveal and internet firestorm, the project had to pivot in public ways. The NEOM team began breaking the grand vision into phases, talking about pilot districts rather than the entire spine overnight. Media coverage shifted toward the nitty-gritty, how to build in a desert, the logistics of creating green infrastructure at scale, and the social policies needed to attract residents. Some of the most intense scrutiny focused on trade-offs. For example, how much ecological restoration is possible when you first have to scrape and grade a vast corridor through delicate habitats? And how do you ensure housing affordability and social cohesion in a city that's also designed to attract global talent? There's also a technical angle that often gets lost in the spectacle. The line's claims about zero cars and whisper-quiet high-speed transit imply a radical rethinking of mobility. NEOM's initial marketing even suggested end-to-end journeys in minutes using internal high-speed systems. That's not impossible. Many cities are experimenting with autonomous pods, high-capacity rail, and micromobility. But integrating these systems into a new linear form at the scale envisioned requires a huge amount of systems engineering and redundancy. Power grids, cooling systems, waste processing, and data infrastructure all have to be resilient in a place where a single fault could cascade across a concentrated urban spine. So the challenge is not just architectural, it's infrastructural and governance intensive.
And that loops back to the philosophical question. Do we fetishize novel forms at the cost of asking who the spaces are for and who builds them? The line's viral status made it a mirror, literally and figuratively, reflecting our hopes for tech-led salvation and our anxieties about centralized authority. It allowed people to project fantasies, a pristine technopolis, a brave new ecological future, an exclusionary elite enclave. Those projections are instructive because they reveal public expectations around climate action, urban life, and state power.
So what's the practical takeaway? First, the line is a masterclass in modern megaproject publicity. Its initial success in the media ecosystem shows how a single, well-rendered idea can mobilize attention and investment appetite. Second, the transition from viral concept to real urban fabric requires hard trade-offs: ecological mitigation, community engagement, technical redundancy, and phased financing. Third, and maybe most importantly, the line teaches us to interrogate spectacle. Beautiful renderings are not plans, they're promissory notes. They tell us what a project wants to sell, and sometimes that's as important as what it will eventually build.
In the end, the bigger lesson is about storytelling and power. Built environments are never just brick and mortar. They're statements about who controls resources and whose visions of the future get to be realized. The line succeeded at starting a global conversation about a certain kind of future city. Whether the physical project lives up to that vision, or whether it becomes a case study in how states use design narratives to accelerate change, remains to be seen.
For urbanists, technologists, and curious citizens, the line is a reminder to celebrate innovation, but also to interrogate the social, environmental, and political costs that come attached. Mega projects can be incubators of new ideas, but they can also be laboratories of inequality if governance and public input are sidelined. Keep your eyes on the phases, the feasibility studies, and, perhaps most revealing, who benefits from the contracts and the eventual governance arrangements.
So why does this matter beyond architecture Twitter and think pieces? Because the line is a litmus test for how the 21st century city will be imagined and financed. It shows how the interplay of state capital, global media, and architectural fantasy can create a feedback loop powerful enough to alter investor expectations and policy priorities in other countries too. That's why the debate won't fade when the renderings are replaced with cranes.
If you liked unpicking this viral mega project with us, hit like, subscribe, and share so more people can join the conversation. So, what if a city were a single straight line? The line gave us that question and then turned it into a global conversation.